Adams said that the Jets and the Saints are the two teams he would most likely want to go to. Of course.
So funny.
It's Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr. I mean.
Which, two that he's played with.
Exactly.
Because he was college teammates with Carr. Probably loves Derek Carr more than anybody else in the NFL. Like, that's just so funny that connection's always there from Fresno State?
Yeah.
So that's hysterical. And then Aaron Rodgers. Am I crazy to say I'd much rather be playing with Derek Carr right now, though, than go to the Jets? Like, of the two, I don't know if the Saints want him.
I would agree with that.
That is like easy. The Saints look good. Carr's playing well. Add Davante into that offense, I think it takes it to another level. You add him into the Jets, and it's a recipe for frustration because that's all there's. Like, adding another great wide receiver to that room, I don't think is going to be what fixes the Jets. Garrett Wilson's a good player. They're not getting the most out of their offense right now for other reasons. So I would say Saints over Jets if I had my druthers as Davante Adams. However, that's not the Chiefs in either case, and I think we all kind of know it's not going to be the Chiefs. They're in the same division in the AFC West. You're not trading your best player to your biggest rival that has owned your division for years. I just don't see any world in which that happens. So I guess the question, Andy, where do they go from here if you're Kansas City? Because they do need somebody. We're going to hear that Rashee Rice is out for the year. I don't know when we're going to hear it. I don't believe the notion that maybe he's only going to be out for a few weeks. I will believe that when I see it from Andy Reid. Like, knee injury looked bad. I think they're, as Will Carroll kind of talked with us yesterday, sort of picking through their options, making sure they've got a full eval of what it actually is going on in that knee to where they can decide a course of action. I just don't think you're going to have him, though, if you're the Chiefs. So, yeah, you probably do have to go get somebody. Who's that going to be?
875-KTGR, who do you want it to be, Chiefs fans, as they look for somebody in the trade market? Most likely, we think, but I honestly think it's more likely this year just for the reason of Andy Reid usually doesn't reveal a whole lot about what the front office might be thinking or what he might want them to do. But the fact that he even answered questions about what type of trade candidate they would potentially want in the wide receiver market, the fact that he even talked about that, I think kind of signals like, okay, they need to go get a guy. Because he usually doesn't reveal that kind of stuff. So I'm going to say they're probably going to be active. I keep coming back to Amari Cooper because it's not only the position, it's not only the body type. I think he's very similar to Rashee Rice in that sense. They're not the same player, of course. I prefer Rice. But with Cooper, you maybe get that same type of route runner, that same type of guy that just sits in the zone maybe and is able to just be an option. And the fact that the Browns have converted their salary around with Cooper to make him more enticing as a trade candidate to other teams, I think also kind of lends to that and will help the Chiefs out cap-wise. So that's the one for me that I think should be atop the list. He can serve the purpose that the Chiefs need served at the moment and still not hurt them too much financially.
Yeah, and I think he's still got it. I don't think Amari Cooper has lost it. I think one of the worst decisions the Cowboys made, they've made a number of them, they didn't need to let Amari Cooper go when they did.
No.
They traded him and didn't really get much back. It was sort of like a financial decision, I feel like, but that's been a number of years, and he's continued to be a really good player. Doesn't always have the best quarterback play distributing the football to him, but I still think he's a good receiver, and if you put him in a Patrick Mahomes offense, I think he's going to do well. What would you pay for Amari Cooper, though? It's so hard to gauge with an in-season trade. A lot of times, even with really good players, even with star players, it ends up costing less than we think more often than not, unless you have a bidding war going on where multiple teams are really trying to get this guy. A lot of times, it's in the NFL, it seems like it's financial reasons more often than not if you're moving a player. And so the team that takes that player on is just in a different cap situation, and it's almost like they're doing you a favor. A little different, like you said, with this because they have restructured that contract. So trading it there might be more destinations that are possible because of the way the salary is structured. But I don't know. What would you pay a second-round pick if you feel like this is the key piece to get to a three-peat, or is that a little bit heavy-handed when we don't often see, especially in-season trades, guys get moved for big draft capital.
I would probably do it. I don't know if it would cost that much. I think a third would be enough.
A third could do it, I think.
I think a third could be enough for Amari Cooper, especially with the position that the Browns are in. I mean, they clearly have some cap issues to deal with. This isn't going to relieve them too much. So, I mean, what the Chiefs can do at the negotiating table and say, hey, guys, look, we know you need to build in the draft a little bit, but we also know your cap situation. You're not going to get the farm from us, so it's kind of on you guys. We'll give you a third. We know how valuable that could be to you, but that's all you're getting. I think they can have some leverage there with what the Browns would have at their situation.
A lot of times it does feel that that's the way these sort of trades happen. I'm trying to think back. Remember I don't even remember if this was in season or off season, Andy. I think it was in season when the Panthers traded McCaffrey to the 49ers in the first place a couple of years ago, and they got a second, third, and fourth rounder to go along with a future fifth rounder. Like, that was a running back playing at the very top of his position and obviously was a huge difference maker, and not even he could get a first rounder. So Amari Cooper, I don't think is probably worth as much now as a Christian McCaffrey was then. You are comparing across positions. But yeah, I think a third rounder feels fair. And if I'm the Chiefs, I fall over myself pressing the button to lock that in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I do think that is a proven veteran that's still, is he at the top of his game? I don't know. But it's a proven veteran that's still got it, still got the juice, and could very much fill the hole that is left by not only Rashee Rice's injury, but remember Hollywood Brown's as well. The Chiefs came into at least training camp thinking, hey, we're going to have a really revamped group. We're not going to have to rely as much on guys like Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. I mean, they let him go. They're in a spot now, though, where they do need to beef back up because of the number of injuries they've suffered over the past couple of months.
875-KTGR, tell us who you think would be your favorite trade candidate as a wide receiver for the Chiefs as they maybe try and get some reinforcements after the Rashee Rice injury. Let's go to Nick here on the KTGR hotline. Nick, what you got?
Hey, guys. Love the show. I love the idea of Amari Cooper. I can imagine the Chiefs, using a big body like that and being pretty effective with it. However, I did see a bunch of tweets today, and it's kind of got my head turning. I think we need another fast guy to replace Hollywood Brown, and I've seen tweets from Tyreek Hill talking about trade rumors. So I think we should go get Tyreek Hill back, bring back 10.
I've heard of him.
Have you really? Appreciate the call, Nick, here on the Big Show, KTGR.
And look, Pacheco's not using the number right now anyway. He's hurt, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of lost in this conversation.
I don't know. How would that work? I don't think Pacheco gives it up. Hill would have to be the one that budges there.
Tyreek Hill's got money. He could pay for the number if he wants it that bad.
I guess.
But let's step back before we're putting him back in number 10 on the Chiefs. He's not even on the Chiefs. What I will say is, if Tua's going to be out for that much longer, I can't fathom Tyreek Hill being very happy about his situation. It's so funny that he went from singing the praises, Tyler Huntley can make all the throws, we're excited for Snoop to be our quarterback now, it's going to be good. Dude, he looked miserable in that game. The last, what was it, Dolphins-Titans? Is that who they lost to on Monday?
Well, I mean, yes, it was just a miserable game altogether with both teams. It's just an ugly game.
Yeah, but I mean, the Titans played well. The Titans did what they had to do to win that game. Offensively, they don't have anybody in Miami that can distribute the ball and get the most out of Tyreek Hill. He was throwing a tantrum on the sideline. It's not that different than what it is with Davante. We know Davante Adams has formally told the Raiders he wants out. So, see where that goes from there. It seems that's probably going to be a trade that happens imminently. Tyreek Hill, I don't know, man, because Tua, if he comes back, then all is well, I think, for Tyreek Hill. But how many more concussions? If you're Tyreek, it's kind of hard to play this game with somebody's career. That's your boy. That's your quarterback. He's been all about Tua. How do you kind of gauge how much longer Tua's got to play this game at this level when it's a health thing? It's not a talent issue with Tua Tagovailoa. It's, man, his brain is taking a beating, and that's a hard thing for what that's going to mean for him life after football. But if he's kind of in close with Tua and knows, Tua's symptom-free right now, I think is the report that I saw, and could return week 8 or 9. If you're Tyreek Hill, you're probably not beating the door down to demand out of there if your boy's coming back. But then there's the angle of, would the Chiefs even... There's been a lot said, Andy. Now listen, it's worse than Kareem Hunt coming back, because Kareem Hunt didn't really say, at least I don't remember a lot being said. It was just, he was in a legal situation. Chiefs caught him. He went on and had a career elsewhere, and then came back. That's one thing. Tyreek Hill is so out public in some of the things that he said about the Chiefs and leaving the Chiefs and how that all went down. I don't know that there wouldn't be bad blood on the KC side. Now, granted, they win a Super Bowl if they trade a second rounder, first rounder, I don't know, for Tyreek Hill. They win the Super Bowl. I mean, you can lock that in, but they're probably winning the Super Bowl anyway. So do you want the headache?
Right? And do you need to do that when he's an $18 million cap hit this year and $31 million next year? Like, no. I don't think so.
Not a first round pick. Anyway.
Definitely not a first round pick. I wouldn't even do a second round pick. I like options elsewhere better than all of the extra that comes with all of that. So, yeah, I know it's out there. I don't think the Dolphins want to do it. And
I don't think anybody does.
Both sides would have very lukewarm feelings about the possibility of that trade. So I'm almost discounting that too. Not as much as I am Davante Adams and trading within the division, but that's like a little bit beneath that.
I guess slightly better chance of Tyreek Hill.
Slightly better chance, but still very slim in my mind. But I mean, there are others too, and I think it's interesting where the Chiefs might want to go with it. I mean, Tyreek Hill in the offense, I don't think there's any question that it would be elevated, even though
it would be fun.
Xavier Worthy is essentially playing his position right now. But either way, it would be fun. But who else? Who else do you think, Brenden? Would you?
Well, and James evidently called in and had mentioned DeAndre Hopkins as a name that would be interesting.
Remember that 2 years ago, or however long it was? Yeah,
we talked a bunch about that a couple of years back. I think that would make sense too. I'm fine with that because, again, I don't think you're talking about a huge price for it. Where are the Titans right now? Because they obviously beat the Dolphins.
First win of the season.
So they're 1-3. They're kind of up against it as well, which we expected they would be. Didn't think the Jaguars would be so bad in their same division. But, the Titans have a divisional game against the Colts coming up this next week. So maybe, you lose that. You're staring at an even bigger deficit in terms of trying to make a charge at this thing. You have not gotten good quarterback play from Will Levis. He was injured, I think, banged up in his last game, so Mason Rudolph came in and played some. I don't know. I think there could be a world in which if the Titans continue to kind of go down the path that they're on, that he's available. And sure, I'd throw a third-round pick for Hopkins just as well. I think if I had my choice between Cooper and Hopkins, I'd take Cooper. But I also think Hopkins could be very compelling.
875-KTGR, who would you want to see the Chiefs trade for? Austin texting in. Interest has been piqued by the idea of getting Darius Slayton from the Giants. Maybe better than Kadarius Toney, maybe Mott, but the price may be just right. It's an interesting one, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
I mean, Darius Slayton is one of those receivers that, pops into my fantasy football interest every once in a while because I get decimated with injuries every so often. And
I'm so tired of fantasy.
Right, yeah,
I don't even want to play it now with all the injuries.
Well, I mean,
sucks.
Yeah, because you got to go and find Darius Slayton to fill all of your lineup spots.
Hey, I saved up waiver priority last night in one of my leagues, and Dontavian Wicks, he's going right into my lineup.
There you
now,
go,
boys. Like, right. Why not? Taking my chance on him.
He's going to pop off. But Darius Slayton, I think, is one of those receivers. Honestly, I would like it because he's maybe been dragged down by Daniel Jones over the last few years.
He's a good player.
He's a good player.
Yeah. He might be very Justin Watson coded, though. Like, I don't really you already kind of have players in that tier level, but you need bodies, too, that can replicate that production. I think Slayton could be interesting because it should cost you almost nothing if that were to happen. And there's a chance that you get something out of him. But I also would like to see the Chiefs aim a little bit higher because I think if you're going to do one move, it's probably giving up a pick in the third round range, give or take, and get a name because you're only really going to you're not going to trade for 2 receivers and decimate a future draft. You probably do it once. And if they're doing it once, I'd rather them aim a little bit higher. But if they can't get any of those guys done, I would take Slayton for a 5th or 6th rounder or something. I guess I mean that'd be fine. It's just a little bit more low hanging fruit than I think I'd hope for them to go after.
Other guys, yeah. I mean, you'd probably prioritize a little more. Like if the Panthers decided, oh, maybe we need to dangle Deontay Johnson. I don't know if they would do that because they just
he would be very interesting, but they just signed him.
Right.
It's hard though because they signed him thinking year 1 with Bryce Young was bad. Okay, year 2, get him some more weapons. Year 3, maybe. Well, now there's no Bryce Young. Like,
right.
Are they going to? Maybe they'll. Who knows, right? So that's hard to know planning wise what they would do there. Deontay Johnson would be an unbelievable fit though for the Chiefs. And I forget how much money he signed for. I would for sure pay a 3rd rounder, but if I were really kind of seeing the green and seeing the Lombardi sitting there again, I would maybe consider even a 2nd rounder. But that's probably a little too steep. That's too steep for a guy you could have had for money 3 months ago.
Yeah, I mean and again, that's a signal by the Panthers. If they trade him, it's almost saying, yeah, we don't know about Bryce Young either.
Our quarterback is not on the roster.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. That's why I think you probably trade Bryce Young before you trade Johnson, right? Probably.
I think they should probably trade Bryce Young, give him a chance, because I honestly think a lot of times when we blame quarterbacks for being a bust, how many times have we seen a quarterback then go to another organization and have success, like a Baker Mayfield, like a Sam Darnold? The Panthers might just be one of those black holes for young quarterbacks to go into, and they're not going to be able to breathe. They're not going to be able to spread their wings the way that they should, regardless of how talented. Because as much as it's easy to dump on Bryce Young now, he was the guy, right, coming out, and none of us really thought, oh, they should go Stroud over Bryce Young. We were like, dude, Bryce Young, he's that dude, and then I think he's in a bad environment. So for that kid's sake, I do hope they trade him, but who knows? It might be several years before he gets to make his Sam Darnold turn. Who knows?